Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright David Mamet is one of the most authentic voices of contemporary American life. He is known for his plays Glengarry Glen Ross and American Buffalo, and such screenplays as The Verdict and Wag the Dog. With his reputation for capturing the darker side of human nature, some critics have been surprised by his latest project, a G-rated film based on a 1910 British court case. The Winslow Boy marks his sixth film as writer-director and stars his wife, Rebecca Pidgeon. Raised in Scotland, she has combined two successful careers as an actress and as a singer-songwriter. She last appeared in two 1998 Mamet productions, the film, The Spanish Prisoner, and the play, The Old Neighborhood. I am pleased to have both of them here on this broadcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
A little bit of business here. What is this? This is just what? This is a CD that's out for how long?
Golly, I don't know, as long as they care to distribute it.
Okay. I mean, has it been out for a while?
Oh, yes, it came out. When did it come out?
A few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a CD of Scottish folk songs, traditional, yeah.
I am half Scottish. No.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the first time that you have directed material not written by you.
That's right, for the movies. I mean, I got my start in the theater directing. I did a lot of Shakespeare, I did a lot of O'Neill, I did a lot of Chekhov, I did a lot of Pinter. So that's how I got started actually as a writer, was directing other people's work. So the only reason I haven't directed anybody else's work for the movies is because I never got around to it. The way I got my job as a movie director was saying, here, I got this script, and if you like it good enough to do it, you got to let me direct it.
In other words, the only way they'd let you direct if you brought them a script they liked, and you happen to own scripts that they liked.
Yeah.
Or have written scripts that they liked.
That's right.
So now you get to direct, so now you're directing The Winslow Boy. Why this?
Well, it's a great story. I saw the play when it played in New York 20 years ago, and I said, geez, I want to do that. It's a story about this little kid who's accused of a theft of a money order amounting to about $1. And because of it, he's kicked out of this naval college, and his life is ruined. And the question concerns his family. His sister's a suffragette trying to get women to vote, and everyone in the family is concerned with social justice. So the question is, does the family support the little kid and fight it? They have to end up suing the Crown and getting a bill passed in Parliament to do so. Or do they say, well, you know, the kid got a bad rap. He got accused of something he didn't do. Let's forget it and go on with our lives.
Do you know what they're saying when they say this is un-Mamet-like?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there's people like say, if Cat may look at a king, I'll compare myself to Picasso and say, I don't know anything about painting, but I know Picasso had a blue period and this painting ain't blue.
You know what they mean when they say this is un-Mamet-like, don't you?
I guess so.
Yeah, what does it mean? It's not dark.
Well, it's a gentle period piece, but it's a play by another great playwright. Yeah. It's very formally structured. It's a melodrama. Have you written a melodrama?
I think, yeah, I wrote a couple. In fact, Nigel Hawthorne did one of the Shawl as a melodrama.
Right. So I find that there's many similarities between the two, Terence Rattigan and David Mamet. Right. And I know of his interest in Victorian novels. And
so you're not surprised he'd pick this?
No.
You're really not?
No, not at all.
And why do you think he would pick it?
Well, it's a very compelling story that perhaps many people might relate to, because it's about fighting for principles, protecting your family. At what point, as you were saying, do you stop fighting for... At what point does fighting for your principles become self-indulgence and arrogance? And like that. Help me out here.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to say that the story happens to be set in Edwardian times, 1912, in England, so you get to wear nice, pretty dresses. That's really once upon a time, but the story it's around us all the time. I mean, it's the same story as the Scopes monkey trial. Why don't you just shut up? And you can teach whatever you want, just don't make a big thing of it because there's a law against evolution.
You know what it is? It's a story about people being brave and fighting for what is right, despite being vilified by all around.
Yeah.
You know, people being brave. And that moves us all.
All right, either one of you set this up. This is the scene. This is where Ronnie shows the letter to Catherine that states he has been expelled. Need I see more? Or how do I need to put context this?
That's it.
All right, roll tape. Here it is.
The annoying thing was that I had a whole lot of neatly turned phrases ready for him, but he wouldn't let me use them.
I'm sure they were rather good.
I thought they were.
If you want to do your speech for me.
Love to.
Let me just make a couple of points here. One is that you just said to me watching this that I said, you feel good about this? And you said, yeah. You said generally with your play, your movies, you don't watch them for 5 years.
Right.
Because?
I just, because when you're looking at them, you have such a great responsibility as a movie director, and you look at your movies, it's very hard not to say, oh my God, what did I do there, or why did I shoot it that way, or please, please, can I go back and direct that movie again? See?
And this is easier also because it's someone else's words. It's Radigan's words. Now, how close did you follow the script?
I followed it fairly close. I mean, I cut some, and I rearranged some, and I wrote some interstitial material, made up a couple of scenes. But it's like saying I went into Frank Lloyd Wright's house and I moved a couple chairs around. It's a great play.
Yeah, I know. It just changed the furniture a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie in 1948 movie?
Sure.
What? No, is it Anthony Asquith? Who was it?
Yeah, Anthony Asquith directed it. It's Margaret Leighton, Cedric Hardwicke, and Robert Donat, who's related to Rebecca Pidgeon.
Yes.
Through marriage. My aunt married his son.
You think of yourself as a writer?
I suppose so.
What do you mean you suppose so?
Well, you know, it's only recently that people in the theater got pigeonholed about what they did. Even when I was a kid, starting out in the late 60s, when we had our own theater companies, everybody did everything. The lighting person might say, here's a play, put it on. And the director might say, you know, screw this, I'm going to act in the next play. And if you look at the history of the theater, that's always where the writers came from. The writer was the stage manager who stood up and said, wait a second, I've written the play. Or the actor said, wait a second, I've written the play. All the great writers started out like that. 9
out of 10 people I know, if you said David Mamet, they'd say one of America's greatest playwrights. Period. That's what they'd say. They wouldn't say director. They wouldn't say screenwriter, even though all these credits. You kind of, the impression is you sort of waltz in to do those things because, but you're taking a lead from what you primarily do, which is write plays.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's true. I'm very fortunate in being able to do a couple of things because I get to change. You know, I get to spend a year sitting by myself in a little room, and then I get to come out and work with Rebecca and all my best friends and play Dollhouse and make a movie.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it can be dangerous talking about talent because then you forget about all the hard work that goes into things. I mean, people practice and they gain experience and they get better and better and they work hard. They have talent as well, but they have great persistence and great application.
Did you have any reservations about doing this?
I was a bit scared because it was such a great film. Are you talking about the Winslow Boy?
Yeah, of course.
It was such a great film. Margaret Leighton and Robert Donat, you know, two wonderful stars. But I have great faith in Dave, and also I was overjoyed that he wanted to do it because I loved the play.
Terrence Radigan play. Yeah. You'd seen the play.
And I really loved the part.
You'd seen the play.
I'd seen the film actually.
Yeah.
I knew the film.
And so you said, "This is something I'd love to do this."
Yes.
Now, what about him directing?
Well, it's a family business, Charlie.
It really is.
Meaning between the two of you?
Well, no, it's always been a family business because you were on the road. I mean, up until the movies came into the picture, you were on the road, you were touring. And who you were touring with? You were touring with your family, you were sleeping with the people you worked with and working with the people you slept with. And what other choice was there?
Families went from generation to generation, still do in the circus. And
some magazine that I read, and see, I mean, here is what you have, your name's become almost a kind of term of art, you know. Some magazine, I think Premiere, described your performance as Mametian.
Oh, yes.
You know, what does that mean?
I don't know, and you know, I think that's a little bit, you know, trying to define me by my husband, a little bit.
Yeah, I would be a little bit, I hear
leery
you.
of that,
exactly.
yeah.
That's why I'm trying in this conversation not to do that. But
yes, no, but I think it's an easy thing to do with actors who work with great writers and directors to say, oh, that's the you know, the writer or director should get the credit for the performance. You know, it's kind of a lazy thing to say. I don't know.
Let me ask you about you. Do you think of yourself as primarily a singer, a songwriter, an actress, or just a performer, just a creative person?
You know, I never thought of myself as a songwriter. I got into it purely by accident, and I still, you know, think of it that way. even though I've recorded 5 CDs so far, I recorded one with an independent label in London, and then I recorded a CD with Phonogram with my band Ruby Blue,
Yeah.
and now I've done 3 CDs with this company Chesky Records here, and all of my songs, you know, that I wrote, but I still somehow can't believe that I really am a singer-songwriter.
Here's another scene from The Winslow Boy. This is where you first meet Sir Morton, played by Jeremy Northam. Here it is, roll tape.
Do you think we can bring the case into court by a collusive action?
I really have no idea.
Curry and Curry seem to think that might hold.
Tell me about the rest of the casting.
Oh, well, as you see, it's Jeremy Northam, very, very much the traditional matinee idol, and quite wonderful. And there's Nigel Hawthorne, who plays Rebecca's father, and Gemma Jones, who plays her mother, and Colin Stinton, who plays the scorned lover, and Sarah Stewart, and Aidan Gillett. And these are a lot of people that you worked with at RADA, right?
Yeah.
I was at RADA with Aidan Gillett.
This is the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
Yeah.
This is the first period piece for you, though, is it, or not on film?
No, I did
did
Uncle
too.
Vanya.
Oh,
and I
Uncle
did a
Vanya,
film called The Dawning with Anthony Hopkins and Trevor Howard and Gene Simmons. When was
She's
that?
Been Away with Peggy Ashcroft.
I did a film called She's Been Away with Peggy Ashcroft and James Fox and Geraldine James, directed by Peter Hall.
Do you like film as much as you like being on stage?
I do. I love film. I love working. The two are very different disciplines.
I know,
as
but
you've
why do you
probably
like film
heard.
then, for one who's
Golly,
still
that's
trained on the
a hard
stage?
question. Well, you get to be a lot more detailed, perhaps, or work in a smaller way.
Yeah. I mean, it's the question of your eyes, like you just moved your eyes. That can be the scene.
Yeah. And it's a much more visual medium. So a scene can be very important where you don't, as you say, do much except move your eyes. Whereas on the stage, am I right here?
Yeah.
Of course you
You talk a lot.
Yeah, that's
Tends to
right.
be you talk a
There's a lot
lot.
of jabber on the stage.
on the stage.
Yeah. And also on a stage, you have to be a lot bigger and you have to shout at the other guy. Feels like you're shouting.
What's the difference in writing plays and writing for the screen?
Well, writing for the screen, one tries to leave out the dialogue, because you tell a story in a picture, you get the idea immediately. The audience sees the picture, they get it.
Yeah, but Wag the Dog was great dialogue. I mean, as for what it was, but it was. And so, but in a much more powerful way, Glengarry Glen Ross, which was made into a film.
Right.
Did you write the screenplay?
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, there was lots of dialogue there,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
In
But
both of those films.
Yeah, but in the perfect film, there's no dialogue.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
but I
What,
mean,
it's a silent movie?
Sure. Because it's pictures. The dialogue has really got to be a descant. As we see it, I think, in this movie, The Winslow Boy, it's wonderful dialogue. There's dialogue throughout, but the dialogue wants to be the descant underneath what's actually happening between the characters,
Very interesting.
which the camera
the
is
dialogue
showing.
accents it or is underneath it.
It's underneath. It's like a bass line, but underneath it, and a lot of times it wants to go against what you're seeing. What you see, there's a lot of reserve in the actors, a kind of an Edwardian reserve. They aren't saying what they think, and they're talking to figure out how to act with each other. And I think it's very powerful.
This film opens in New York on April 30th. David Mamet and Rebecca Pidgeon and many others, Sir Jeremy Northam, and who else is in it?
Nigel Hawthorne,
Nigel
Gemma Jones.
Hawthorne, who was in many things, including
Madness of
Madness
King
King
George.
George, mainly for theater and film. And then was that long series he did in London on
Yes,
television?
Minister.
Yes,
Yes,
Minister.
Minister.
Yes, Minister.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Thank you, Rebecca. Pleasure to have you here on
Thank
this
you very
program.
much,
David, as
Charlie.
always.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Again, April 30th, The Winslow Boy opens by Sony Pictures Classics. We'll be right back. Stay with us.